Why hello there friends, and welcome to the whimsical world of Ærin, where today we're going to be remaking over one lot into the whimsical style that is going to be the hallmark of my entire world actually. Going forward, this is kind of going to be a theme or a trend that I'm going to explore on my channel, where I am remaking all of the houses and all of the lots in The Sims in a more whimsical style. I'm using my show Roll for Sims 4 on TikTok in order to make those Sims. Also for all of the lots, I'm going to be doing makeovers on the lots in a more whimsical style using items that are in the game so other people can use these lots, and then I think eventually some of the lots may get Alpha CC makeovers. You'll notice one of the hallmarks of my style is that I use a lot of things that are kind of cottagecore inspired. I use a lot of things that are, I use the word whimsy a lot. I like things that are pastel. I like animals. I like anything that's kind of embellished or maximalist. So I must admit that for this specific build, I kind of kept it a little bit safe. I didn't want to spend too long on it because I know that I can get a little excessive when it comes to it. And I wanted to go not too crazy with the roofing, you know, something that other people I thought would maybe want in their builds, in their life, in their worlds. Admittedly, I've never really built before in The Sims. I've only built one thing before. I've done a little bit of redecoration, but honestly, normal homes kind of bore me, but they have made the build system more robust, so you can make these kind of fantastical structures more easily and make them more custom and more colorful, which has been a problem in the past. I'm going to admit you're probably going to hear a bird throughout this series a lot because I'm going to be recording these voiceovers in a room that has her, so if that's going to be a non-starter for you, you should probably just leave now. This is probably not the place for you because we love birds here. So I'm going to start with the outside. I know some people like to start with the inside. I know some people like to, start with the outside. Personally, I like to start with the exterior, kind of just to get the vibe place, and then I really focus heavily on the outside with the greenery, the plants, and that. If you know me, I'm very invested in my garden. It's like a huge obsession for me. So I spend probably like half the time in my building and in my decorating and in The Sims just doing plants, and just doing plants on the outside, and that doesn't even count if I go crazy with plants on the inside, which fortunately I didn't go too crazy with the plants on this build. In my mind, all of the people in the whimsical world of Ærin are people that like to garden, so everybody is going to have a lot of plants in front of their house. I try to do a lot of the plants that are just permanent, and then also I try to leave some grass space clear so I can do some things that are like crops and what have you. But for this one, I really started off heavy with the Maidenhead Fern. It is one of my favorite plants because it takes up a lot of space. You can size it up or size it down, and it really overlaps and extends out past the edge of the lot. I hate that you really can't make the lots fully look like they blend in if you heavily garden them, and this is kind of one of my solutions to that, is to take the Maidenhead Ferns and do more. I know you can use a tool in some of the other mods and add-ons, but I know if I get that invested in changing the world, that I will probably never come back. I will never touch the gameplay mode of this game again. So since this is the first episode of the series, I kind of do want to go into some of the reasons of why I'm doing this. First off, I want to show other people that you can add whimsy into The Sims without a lot of mods and add-ons, and that's one of the reasons that these redos, I really want to stick initially to doing them with just things that are available in the packs that are available from EA. I do think there is a uniqueness to my style, especially because I like to mismatch things together in ways that people don't commonly do. Again, I've kept it fairly safe in this build, but this is the jumping off point. If this is already too much for you, if the fluorescent pink kitchen that we're going to see in just a couple of moments, if that's too much for you, maybe this is not the design aesthetic for you. However, maybe it's not the design aesthetic for you, but maybe it's just, it gives you a little bit of inspiration on how to improve your current style a little bit, take it a little bit in a different direction from a lot of the other people that play. I know that one of the problems that I had with using the content that came with the game to build was that I feel that especially initially early on, a lot of the builds looked fairly similar, or they were very realistic houses. There wasn't a lot of room for fancy and for fantasy, and I love how the more recent packs have allotted time and space for that, even as the game has continued to progress in ways that are more realistic. So added in a high school expansion, and obviously the babies and stuff are going to get better. But I guess all in all, it's about looking at the existing things in The Sims and maybe looking at them a little bit differently. Maybe using items that you had never used before, or using items that you love, but you're like, how am I supposed to fit this in any kind of normal decor? Because admittedly, if you're used to making modern homes, or if you're used to making classical style homes, there are definitely packs like Realm of Magic that you may feel like you could never use the items from those in your builds. Maybe this will make that a little bit more within your comfort zone. Or maybe it doesn't change your comfort zone at all. You just like watching other people have a good time. That's kind of what this is going to be about. In addition to doing these speed rebuilds or redecorates, however you want to consider them, I'm also going to be posting the videos where I make the Create a Sim Sims from Roll for Sims 4, which I've now mentioned 2 times, so let me explain that. If you're on TikTok, you may be familiar with a show called Roll for Sandwich, where a guy uses D&D dice to pick out his sandwich by rolling them and figuring out what they correspond to on a list. Basically, I do that just with Sims, and I use them to figure out what my creative Sim are going to be. Obviously, my Sims use categories that are not necessarily present in the game, like some of my Sims are fairies, some of my Sims are going to be angels and things of that nature. I have a lot of custom content, and I'm definitely going to be using the custom content when I'm doing Create a Sim for these Sims. I don't currently have plans for a gameplay or Let's Play series, but I suspect that as I create these Sims and their stories kind of populate themselves in my mind, that I will be drawn to do that as well. So if any of that interests you, then please give me a follow. I also do Disney Dreamlight Valley content on this account. I'm not going to be making just a Sims only account because I like playing a lot of games. So if you like cozy gaming, if you like all of that kind of stuff, then be sure to follow me. So anyway, by this point I was mostly done with the vegetation on the outside. I do come back to it later because there were some holes in it, but at this point I decided I really wanted to work on the kitchen. And I have 2 goals in life, pink kitchens and purple kitchens, and I decided to start with pink. I do think that with the kits there is enough purple stuff that you can do an all purple kitchen, but it is very hard to do anything with the color purple in this game, even though I love it. I did another house that was my first build in The Sims. I unfortunately didn't record it, but I do have that. I'll show it now. And that obviously I wanted to try and make as a purple build, but you really can't. I did get a couple more kits since I made that though, so I want to go back and see if I can do a purple kitchen. So if you'd like to see a purple kitchen, that's probably going to be in the next build video. There are, however, a fairly large amount of pink items in the game, especially, like I said, once you have the kits, and I was really happy with all of the pink items that I was able to put in this kitchen. I went with that wallpaper because it is so much, and that is what I love about it. It's pink, it's tiger, it's fierce, and I think I use it in an accent wall in a different color in one of the bathroom or bedrooms because I love it so much. I did struggle a bit at a rug because I always like to put a rug pretty much in every room, even though I don't decorate like that in real life. I just feel like Sims rooms kind of look a little big if you leave enough space for the Sims to move around, so they need some sort of visual clutter to kind of take up that floor space. As you can kind of see, I'm limiting my selections mostly, especially on this initial build, to cottage living. I do a little bit of vampires, I section out the kits, and I use a little bit of things from Realm of Magic. I do occasionally venture into Strangerville and other builds, but those kind of are the big key ones, those packs that represent my aesthetic and my style, I think. And I really love a lot of the new kits, and more than I thought I was going to. When kits first came out, I hated the concept of them, but I have to admit that it has allowed EA to put design aesthetics that are less popular in the game, which allows me to do what I like better and more. So one of my only big real criticisms with building in the game right now, and maybe there's a mod that fixes that, let me know in the comments, is just it doesn't save the settings for what you have selected. So literally every time I change categories, I felt like I had to select, do I want kits? Do I want cottage living? La da 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 da. So maybe there is an mod or an add-on that does that. Moving on to the living room though, I really saw this as kind of a pastel grandma core / cottage core type of vibe. So that's what I went for, really hardcore. Like I said, I kind of went a little easy on the decorations. In many of my builds, I would have probably went wild, just absolutely putting things over almost every surface of the walls, but I kind of held myself back. I do think that maybe somebody will watch this and be like, hey, I want to use this in my game, and maybe they want to change it out a little bit, so I don't want to go too far with the decorations in my own style, but let me know what you feel. Let me know if you want me to go full extent of my maximalist self, what you like seeing, because I've never done a speed build before. This is my very first one. I did used to have a Sims channel if you're not familiar with me, but my main channel is now non-Sims stuff, so now my second channel is Sims stuff and cozy game stuff. But let me know what you kind of want to see out of that, and let me know if you know how to use those things, those wall frames with doors, because I can't figure out how to get them to work around a door frame. It just looked weird. I also wish there were TVs in the game that are more aesthetic. It really frustrates me that all of the TVs are just... And I get, like, in real life, there's not that many aesthetic TVs, but a lot of people modify their television in real life to be aesthetic, and I wish those things were options in The Sims 4. I used, just a couple seconds ago, one of my new favorite items in the game are these tables that are glass tops and have plants in them. I love the concept of that in real life. Could never be me, though, because I would just kill my tables all the time. As much as I love plants, and I take good care of plants that are outside, the ones that are inside really get forgotten about. So next we're going to get into the bathroom, and the bathroom again was one of those scenarios where there was a wallpaper that is in the game that I have wanted to use that I've never really found an excuse to use in any of my decorating, and that is the one that is with the birds and the vines and everything like that comes from one of the kits, like the Maximalist kit, I think. Sorry, I don't know the names for everything. If you need that, you're not getting that here. But anyway, it's got birds, and I love birds. I have a bird in my bedroom right now, as you've probably heard. I do feel that the bathroom decorations are one of my least favorite things in the style that I build, just because I nearly always use the same exact toilet, because nearly all of the other ones have some degree of modernity to them, and I'm not really all about modernity. I do use some things that edge in towards looking modern, but I like things that look very organic, that are made out of natural materials, that look like something that a human being could have crafted with their bare hands if they had enough time. I'm not so much a big, huge fan of the toilets that look like they should be on the space shuttle. I don't find that they fit in my builds very often. There's a lot of toilets in the game that just look very similar. Biggest complaint overall is that bathroom supplies, very lacking. But I was really happy with what I was able to eventually do with this bathroom by sizing down some of the rugs in Realm of Magic and making it kind of look a little bit more cohesive. I like doing a little... They don't have half rugs in this game, and I use those in real life a lot, so I kind of made it look like a half rug kind of deal, and I was very happy that I could hide it with this wild grass on the outside, so nobody needs to know that there's a rug outside. I also had a little bit of a weird window structure with these two back bays, and I know that you don't typically do back bay windows, but again, it's my fantasy. Nobody has to pay real life money for this. Nobody is worrying about real resale value or anything like that. So it's going to have back bay windows, and they're going to be covered by foliage leaves that we don't really know who's exchanging them or where they've come from, and one of them cuts through the wall because I decided that this big wide window was what I had to have on the side because of how it looks aesthetically from the outside, even though it doesn't make any sense because there's a wall bisecting it. But again, we're going to pretend that's normal, and we're also going to pretend that the branch that is holding those leaves and making curtains makes sense. So this is the first bedroom, the master bedroom, and I'm going to put a picture of the sim that lives here in just a second because she is a sim that I have made. And in my mind, she obviously is very into nature, very into pink, and I was kind of trying to pull those together in a way that was very organic. And I think this little Art Deco dresser or whatever it is, it really pulled it together well because it has the pale pink botanicals. Love that. And I really love these groupings of artwork because it makes the decoration process way quicker. And I love that a lot of them now incorporate both pictures and nature. So again, I can continue to put way too many plants in my builds. So I have to admit, before I made the build the other day, I had not played The Sims in over a year. I think I stopped playing shortly before Cottage Living came out. I kind of got burned out on it. I felt like I had been dissatisfied for a long time, but I'm really pleased with a lot of the newer content. I'm really pleased with a lot of the free updates and a lot of the things that they have planned thus far, so I'm glad to be back in the swing of things. I'm also realizing that I did lie, because I said that this was CC free, and I did decide to go with a custom content carpet. Now, hear me out. The carpets that are just in the game are just not good. There's not a good color selection, and I really had a very specific, like, mint and pink kind of pastel-y vibe that I was going with, and none of the carpets were doing it for me. When I upload this to the gallery, I'm probably going to put an actual Maxis match or like an actual game carpet there, so it's actually usable by people and there's not a bare floor, but I just wanted people to let them know that, you know, that's not what's going to be there if I do put this on the gallery. I have to say that these Void Critter stickers is one of my favorite items in the game because you can nest them all together, you can change them, there's a lot of different color options, they can fit a lot of aesthetics, so I use them a lot. They're one of the few items in the game that I use. It's such a random item. Now, this is the teenage son's bedroom. He's a very plant-loving fairy, so I was really trying to do, you know, a fair number of plants. I didn't go too wild because, you know, like I said, I was trying not to get over crazy with the decorations, and also I was kind of concerned that on slower computers it may not run very good with all of the leaves and stuff that are around, so I was trying to be cognizant of that. I also went with this very kind of teenage looking bed. He's definitely a plant sim that's more, well, he's not a plant sim, but he's a sim that's more in love with plants than you know, anything else. And of course the kind of berry-inspired wallpaper because I thought it was cute and, you know, goes with plants. At this point I was realizing I wasn't happy with the way that I'd done the grass in the back because the ferns weren't reaching the ferns didn't fit there. So I just kind of filled it in with some other things, and then I realized that I didn't like that little hole that I'd left and figured out something for the little wildflowers. I love those wildflowers. I like sizing those up and down and filling them into various places too. They're another thing that I overuse. I'm sorry if this has gotten rambly. This is my first voiceover like this. Also, if you're watching this video when it first releases, just to let you know that there is also a Create a Sim video for an alien sim that I made with Roll for Sims 4. If you're interested in following me, I do have another YouTube channel, Aerin Moriarty. I'm at Aerin Moriarty most places. I'm also at Faye Iconoclastic on Twitter. If you're watched this far, thank you so very much. Have a wonderful day. I'm going to show you some pictures on the lead out, and yeah, have a lovely day. Bye.